All right, Shane, next let's kick it on down to Athens with defending national champions. Had their first scrimmage here, and sounds like the offense is ahead of the defense, which is not something we're used to saying down there in Athens, but with so much firepower back on that side of the ball, Stetson Bennett and company winning the scrimmage. Darnell Washington, the star tight end. I mean, of all the tight ends down there, Shane, Darnell, he seems like he gets the least amount of buzz. But he is emerging there. Had a great scrimmage. Just got some bad news, though, Shane. Arian Smith injured. He's going to miss the rest of camp. That guy is just – he can never stay healthy. He was a high school All-American. We have such high expectations for these guys. And sometimes, man, they just can't stay healthy, and it's just devastating, you know?
Dude, I prime example. I was watching Pittsburgh preseason game, man. Pickens out there – with an amazing catch in the back of the end zone. You can't help but think, what if he did stay healthy? What if he did play 3 years, or how, because there's a lot of great receivers that come through Georgia. You think of A.J. Green, you think of Hines Ward, where would he have ranked? Because I don't think 10, 15 years from now we're talking about Pickens in Georgia, maybe we're talking about him in the NFL, but it's just one of those things these days. If you're and that's what Kirby talks about. You're too good, you're out. You don't get enough you're gone. It's and then if you are healthy, or get injured, it's just like your time on the field is so precious. And but it's another man up who takes the reins.
Yeah. So let's kick it over to Kirby. Shea talks about the scrimmage, talks about receivers needing to step up, and that corner spot. Kamari Lassiter, Nyland Green battling for a starting role. Dylan Everett also in that mix to start opposite Kaylee Ringo. Let's kick it over to Kirby.
All right. Thanks, guys. Practice 9 in the books. Didn't think it was our best of our 9 practices. It was our first scrimmage, first chance to tackle live. I think you always have to be careful how you assess your team when you tackle live for the first time. In my experiences as a coach, it's not pretty, and it was not pretty from a tackling standpoint. But offense is ahead of the defense, which is probably to be expected. I was a little disappointed in the energy and kind of enthusiasm and leadership of the defense. There wasn't a lot of support there, and if things go bad, there wasn't a guy to kind of pick them up and grab the bull by the horns and get them headed in the right direction. But I thought the kids played hard, especially early in the scrimmage. We had guys really play hard, physical, came out with the right mindset. Like I said, practiced 9 in a row with 1 day off in between the 9. So they have gotten after it. They'll get a day off tomorrow. We'll get back to work Monday. We have a long way to go to get to where we need to go. And that's nothing to do with Oregon. That's nothing to do with anybody we play. That's to do with the Georgia Bulldogs. So we got to look ourselves in the eyes as coaches and figure out what the guys we have can do the best and get them to go execute that at the best. We have good football players on this team. We didn't necessarily play with the right energy and enthusiasm across the board as a whole today. There were some good individual performances, but all in all, I think we got to have a better scrimmage next Saturday. Dylan made some plays today. Dylan Bell made some plays today. Jackson Meeks made some plays today. If you're counting him as young, because nowadays sophomore's not young. Sophomore's old. 40% of our team, 35% of our team is freshmen. So, I thought Dylan Bell stepped up and made some plays and flashes. Oscar made some plays at tight end, counting him as a receiving weapon. So those guys continue to do a good job, but we just don't have the depth at receiver. I thought Rosemary did a good job today. AD made a few plays. But we're going to have to be really good on the perimeter to be explosive. We've got good tight ends, but we've got to be good outside to complement the tight ends. And we need to get Denylin back, and we need to get Dylan Bell rolling to get where we need to get at wideout. No, he's working his way in the rotation by necessity. We don't have enough depth at the position there. And Denylin's just got he hyperextended his knee before we even started camp. So he's got an injury that's lagging over from camp, but he's not. He's back running. He should be back here shortly, and hopefully can get him back healthy and get him in there competing. But it's just every year. I don't think across the country you see 4 senior wideouts. Show me where you got 4 senior wideouts. Show me where you got 2 seniors and 2 juniors. because wideouts are very similar. If they don't get the ball, they're gone. So you constantly have young players, and if they're really good, they're going to the draft. So that's where one of our juniors is. So everything is kind of cyclical, and right now at wideout we don't have great depth, and we have a couple injuries. So those young guys are getting thrust out there, and they got to grow up. We've done it before. I mean, we've had productive freshman wide receivers. Yeah, both those kids are smart, savvy, tough, physical. I love the way they tackle and play. I thought Nyland had some good physical tackles for him. Kamari is one of the best tacklers on the team. So it's a lot more about covering at that position than it is tackling. And Kamari did some nice things, gave up some plays. He had a really good day the other day where he made a couple plays on fade balls on AD. And, Kamari's fighting his tail off for that spot and to help us in some special team spots. But I'm very pleased with the growth of those guys. We won't get through the year with just those three, though. We're going to have 4 and 5 corners to survive the season.
Yeah, Shay, I mean, we get so caught up in all the tight end hype. We got to remember, hey, they need receivers down there. I mean, they got loads of talent in Athens, but with Jermaine Burton transferring out, with guys like Smith getting hurt, we're waiting for Dominique Blaylock to emerge, who he's a guy himself has been banged up quite a bit in his career. I don't know, any concern here as Kirby is, want some receivers to step up in this offense?
A little bit. I'm picking up a theme. If you haven't checked it out on that SEC podcast on the YouTube channel, listen to Todd Monken the other day, and one of the things he talked about was exactly what Kirby's talking about. If you don't give these guys opportunities, they leave.
Right.
And so I'm picking up a theme. It's like he says we got great tight ends. There's not a lot of 3 tight end sets, but there's going to be. We got to get our best players on the field, but you also got to be careful, and not neglecting a different department, because at the 3-4 weeks in, those guys are out, because they're not getting the accolades they were promised, because they have a desire to go to the NFL, and if they don't feel like they're getting that audition, then they're going to find another school where they can play. So
right.
It's weird, because you'll talk. Here we're talking about some of these schools like. They're trying to create depth, and then you talk to a school like Georgia, and they're like, they got to be careful with the depth they have so they don't lose it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you picked up on it, but this felt like a team meeting. This felt like this should be like you could easily have taken the media out and put the players in there.
Yeah.
And he's looking for some leaders to step up on this program. N'Kobe Dean is not a guy that's easily replaced. Right. That's one of the things they talked about when he was on the field last year. He was a commander. He was the captain of that defense. He got these guys in position. I mean, there's a lot of times you would hear him yelling at different defensive linemen, moving them to the right position, or different linebackers. You got to have that if you want to win a national championship. Not just 10 games, not just win the East. I'm talking about if you legitimately want to repeat a national championship, you have got to have some dogs on both sides of the offense and defense, and true leaders and coaches on that field. Because if you don't get it, you don't have that motivating factor. And that's one thing we were concerned about is there a hangover? Is there a honeymoon? Or this is owed to me, this is due to me? Georgia can't have that. They got to come out there expecting to win and getting better every single day. And it felt like this scrimmage was a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, and speaking of Todd Monken, Shane, I think that someone was kind of joking with him, said, you ever rolled out 4 tight ends on the field at one time? And he said, well, we could do that, but then all our receivers are going to jump in the portal. Yeah. And that's just kind of, he's kind of kidding, but not really, because that's the state of college football. And in a place like Georgia, where you just across the board, you got star players that came in here with scholarship offers from 50, 60, 70 programs. They come to Athens, Georgia, and if they ain't getting the ball, they're going to start looking around and say, well, hell, they throw them the ball at South Carolina, Alabama, right, Mississippi State, whatever, and I'm going to go to where they get me the ball. So it's a balancing act, to be sure, and it sounds like that's what's happening in Athens right now.
Absolutely, man. People talk, players talk.
Yeah.
And, just because they're not in the transfer portal now doesn't mean somebody's not dropping little seeds around them.